I'm glad you're here with us today for this weekend devotional. I have spent a great deal of time this week looking at this idea of giving oneself over to God. And often we use that phrase very loosely. Well, I belong to God. But I want us to think about it for just a moment. We're going to look at Romans 6. We're going to start in the 10th, let's start in the 7th verse. He says, "For one who has died has been set free from sin." Now, if we have died with Christ, we believe that we will also live with him. We know that Christ, being raised from the dead, will never die again. Death no longer has dominion over him. For the death he died to sin once for all. But the life he lives to God. So you must also consider yourselves dead to sin and alive to God in Christ Jesus. I want us to think about what that means. To give ourselves over to God. To say that we live, that we are alive to God in Christ Jesus. We live the same life or a life as Christ did. In Romans 12, he uses the word a living sacrifice. What does that mean? I give a piece of myself apart. The sacrifice, to be a sacrifice, must be the whole. I want us to think on this order. The lesson this Sunday is about this idea of living my life or giving my whole life, my whole being to God. If you would consider looking into Philippians, I'm not going to read it, but in Philippians 1 or Philippians 2, 1 through 11, he says, I want you to keep this in your mind. I want you to have the mind of Christ. He said, have this mind among yourselves, which was yours in Christ Jesus. And then it talks about he emptied himself, becoming a servant, one even unto death. It's difficult for us to get a hold of this idea that when God says, I want you, he wants all of me. When we find ourselves forgiven in Christ, we give ourselves over and we die to our own self. It is no longer us, but it is Christ who lives in me. So how should I act? What should I do? Uh, how should I live my life for God? We spend a lot of time trying to understand this one point, looking and longing to have the things that I want, looking and longing to be able to do what I want to do, not necessarily what God has asked me to do. But he says living sacrifice, one who gives all of himself. I want you to think on this, each one of us, as we go through this weekend, and I hope that you are able to be with us Sunday as here at Dora Church of Christ. If not, I hope you're able to view the lesson and just think about this idea of giving oneself over to God. And so often we'll say that we belong to him. We'll say that we're his. We'll say that we're a child of his. And yet we wander a great deal. I want us to look what it means. I want us to think about this idea. I want us to strive to change the way we live our lives and to look to Christ, to look the examples that were given in this book that we have called the Bible, and see what it means to wholly give one's life. Thank you for being here today. I'm glad you're able to join us. I hope you will join us this Sunday for the lesson. Thank you for being here, and may God bless you.